Testing, testing, testing. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, like give all praise, honor, and glory unto the Most High, His only begotten Son. Call Halayim La Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakwadash. All right, double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who teach well, while Barakathon to the hopeful elect. All right, and today through the Spirit, I want to go into a video entitled Famine Prophecy. Right, in this article, as you can see right here, was published maybe like 4 days ago. You know, our brothers were sitting inside the chat, and then I happened to go on the chat GPT and look up, you know, another question that I posed. Like, are we approaching a global famine from all these wars happening? Right. And then, you know, the chat GPT basically goes into it, but we all understand this is prophecy. You know, there's going to be a shortage of food, a shortage of things that we use in our daily lives that people aren't going to be able to use. And, you know, it's been orchestrated for them to bring forth this Revelation 13 and 16, you know, which that device that's supposed to fix the economy. It's going to fix all world issues. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Shabbat. Yep, it's going to fix all world issues, you know, and they're gonna try and bring that via through this technology as if it's going to be the salvation. But at the end of the day, all it's really going to do is ultimately bring our Lord's coming and his return, and then ultimately decide everybody's choice. Everybody's going to make that final choice. Who do you worship or who do you bow down to? And most people are going to choose to bow down to this beast system, Esau Edom. You know, they're going to choose to bow down to this, to saving this world versus partaking in the world to come. You see? But the point I'm going into is famine, and that's it's prophecy, it's prophetic. So when you go into this article, which a lot of brothers have already went into it, it says 70% of farmers can't afford all needed fertilizer, survey shows. And it says survey was conducted from April 3rd to 11th and had more than 5,700 farmers respond, right? And we understand that even a couple of years back, they was paying farmers to destroy a lot of their land, their farmland. See, it was literally giving them money to just get rid of all their, that's an asset, you know? That's the way they make a living, is by them having that farmland, that agriculture. They were paying them to get rid of it so they can have control over it. You see, and we even see that's happening with Hell Gates. You know, we got to speak in code because it'll flag the vid, but Hell Gates has been buying a lot of farmland as well. You know, and what is that going to lead to? When famine happens, that's going to lead to everybody going crazy. Everybody's going to start acting lawless, right? And when that happens, they're going to have to shut everything down again. But it says right here, you jump down a little bit, because this article is being brought out by a lot of brothers, so I'm not going to really have to go too deep into it. I'm more going to go into the chat GPT that I had looked up, right? When you jump down here, it says a new survey from American Farm BU Federation shows the vast majority of U.S. farmers, roughly 70%, are unable to afford all the fertilizer they need this season amid rising input costs due to the war in Iran and the already difficult farm economy, like we're just going into. They pay a lot of the farmers to destroy a lot of their crops. And then it even just made the statement right there about this war. You see, because that's fertilizer is one of those things that people need to have their agriculture. And this war is affecting it, that Strait of Hormuz. You see? And now it's not even just that war as well. Because when I go into this chat, which I'm going to share that right now, this AI overview, it's even the Ukraine war was having an effect. You see, on the global economy. You see? Because on chat GPT, I looked up, are we approaching a global famine from this war? And it even mentioned the Russian-Ukraine war. But it says, yes, rising conflicts, particularly the war involving Iran and ongoing impacts from the Ukraine war, are pushing the world toward a severe, multi-year, and potentially record-breaking global hunger crisis. You see, a lot of places aren't able to access their particular needs by way of, because of all these wars, and which these wars are nothing but power hungry, trying to take over the Holy Land. You see, which really we understand the Holy Land belongs to the Lord's people, the nation of Israel. You know, you go all the way down to the Red Sea, all the way going to the Euphrates, all that belongs to us. but they fighting over that whole plot of land when it don't belong to neither one of them. And that's leading to a whole world just crisis. It says in 2026, UN warning indicates that 45 million more people could face acute hunger if conflicts in West Asia continue. It says driving up food prices and disrupting fertilizer supplies, with major impacts expected by the late 2026 and 2027. It says key drivers of potential global famine. You see, and also we speaking about the gas and fuel prices. You see, that goes with travel with the planes, travel with these various truck drivers, who use the oil. And if they're starting to use corn, that ethanol, man, and that's a worse quality thing for the car. So all this stuff is having an effect. You see, it says key drivers of potential global famine. It says fertilizer shortages. It says a silent collapse of the global fertilizer trade is unfolding with disruptions around the Strait of Hormuz, which you've been going into. It says causing nitrogen fertilizer supply chains to tighten, severely impacting global food production. A lot of these nations, they rely on getting stuff from that strait. It says this next bullet point. It says soaring food prices. It says the conflict has caused significant spikes in food costs, with the UN Food and Agriculture Organization tracking a sharp rise in the prices of staple items. You see, so this is it's affecting everybody, like the scripture said it would, which we got precepts to prove it. I'm gonna get this next couple of bullet points. It says rising acute hunger. It says projections suggest that the total number of people facing acute food insecurity could rise by 45 million, worsening hunger in regions like Africa and Asia. And places like that in certain areas been getting jacked up, not having enough to eat. And it says right here, previous conflict fallout, it says the war in Ukraine has already disrupted global supply chains for wheat, barley, and sunflower oil, with many countries still suffering from these shortages. You see, because they was getting towed up. A lot of people forgot about this war right here in Ukraine. But war people have to use a lot of their resources and the money. And then within them having to use a lot of resources and the money, it also disrupts various trade and things of that nature. So that's going to lead to this famine is increasing. And this is then when famine increase, that we know that's a big step in prophecy, because Esau's going to have to bring a solution. When people ain't able to eat, they're going to want a solution. How are we going to eat? How is our children going to be able to eat? And one example that comes to mind is that Kings. Hey, Shalom, Yabashakathon. In Kings, you had the example in Kings when the Northern Kingdom went through a famine and people was feeding each other. They was coming to the king like, how we going to eat? Well, the same thing is going to happen here. It says potential impact timeline. It says experts predict a very large increase in famine globally by the fall of 2026. It says with real effects of reduced fertilizer usages. It says, and thus smaller harvest being felt in the coming months. And if it ain't no big harvest, then how are these stores and all these places going to get their food? People rely on these various stores and things of that nature to get food. Hey, shalom. You see, so if a lot of places ain't able to have shortages, that means the price is going to go up. And if prices go up, that means people ain't going to be able to afford it. People are already losing jobs and already in a bad economic position. So as this ramps up, it's going to really affect a lot of people. I want to get a couple of precepts to prove what I'm going into, how it's prophecy. This is one that brothers always go into. This is 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 22. It says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And we see right here, one of the ways that's happening right now is what? 75% of farmers ain't able to get their fertilizer. They don't have the funds, and they don't have the resources to continue to keep their farms going. And then a lot of them, they were being forced to have to destroy their crops. Just maybe a couple of years ago, we were seeing all types of articles about that. You see? And now we're even being affected by these wars that's happening everywhere. Because wars, you got to use a lot of your resources. So as we see this war ramps up, it's going to be more of people not able to have these crops going. More of the storehouses not having the resource that they need. Because like we've been going into the fuel too. These truckers, they need fuel to deliver things. Airplanes need fuel to be able to travel. I also want to go here. Because this is all the Lord's doing. The Lord is allowing Esau to have all this stuff happen, to have these wars that's affecting everybody, for there be shortages of various things. The Lord is orchestrating this. This is Second Ezra chapter 16. I'm gonna start at verse 17 in the GNT. It says, I'm doomed. Who will rescue me in those days? This is what Ezra was seeing, a vision of these times we in right now. War, a shortage of food, shortage of goods, everybody fighting, all types of destruction. He was seeing that and he was scared because he was like, oh man, how am I gonna get out of these times? You see, and we're in the beginning stages of it. We're in those times right now. We're in the root of it, the beginning. It says right here, troubles will come and many people will groan. Famine will come and many people will die. Wars will come and the world powers will tremble. Disasters will come and everyone will be terrified. What will people do when these disasters come? Because he was like, man, because like that's when faith comes in at. Because in the sight of the situation, it's going to look like it's no way to escape. That's how bad this famine is going to get. That's how bad this war is going to get. That's how bad everyday life is going to get for these Americans, these Babylonians, and really these people around other parts of the world as well. That's how bad the situation is going to get, where it's going to be look like it's no way of hope. And this is what Ezra was seeing in these visions that he was seeing. Because in the sight, it looks like there's no way to be delivered in that situation. That's how bad it's going to be out here. And we're in the beginning of it. With Esau's technology that he got, all this stuff, he's going to be able to really police everybody and try and force people into, subjecting it to him. He's willing to bring famine. He's willing to take it there. Be putting people to death inside sea camps. Esau is that mad scientist that's willing to take it there. He's ready to just crash out and just go all the way there. And that's what we're seeing, man. It's verse 19. It says famine, epidemics. Oh man, we just did one a couple of years ago. It says troubles and sufferings are sent to punish and correct people, right? And that's what we see. You see, the Lord is doing this as a judgment. The Lord is visiting this place, and part of before the Lord returned back, he said all these things will happen. He said it's going to be wars, it's going to be famines, it's going to be all types of judgment. He's going to plague this spiritual Egypt. So this is all the Lord is doing as a punishment. What does it say? It says, but in spite of this, they will not turn away their sins. They soon forget their punishment. And that's the state of Israelites, man. You see, just a couple of years ago, niggas were scared. They couldn't go to the clubs no more. It was shut down. It was a lockdown. Everybody had to sit their ass in the house, man. And everybody started trying to get their house together. They was trying to get themselves in order. But once stuff kind of got a little bit more normal, it felt like things wasn't that bad no more. Everybody got right back to being wicked. But we finna come into a time where it's not gonna go back to normal. It's not gonna get back better. You see, the Lord ain't gonna allow it to come up. The so-called come up is gonna bring more destruction. Like you look at movies like Fahrenheit 451. Is it Fahrenheit 451? It's something along the lines. But it's basically a movie where they basically banned the Bible. They were burning all the books, and they just had everybody in a full, complete police state. Esau wants to do that in real life. So when he brings that so-called salvation, which is going to be the MOTB, it's going to really be to everybody's detriment. You ain't going to be able to control how much you spend. You ain't going to be able to kind of you ain't going to be able to go anywhere without him tracking you. He's going to be able to immediately kill you. You see, I have all types of devices that can lock on to where you at. And he got the technology to do it right now. The Palantir, he got these satellites everywhere. He can track us right now. You see? But when he puts that device, it's going to make it that much more worse. So people are thinking that's going to be a way, that's going to be a salvation, but it's actually going to make life a lot worse. He going to know you can only buy 2 packs of meat, for your household. Then the quality of the food is going to get worse too, because we're speaking about famine. Well, the quality of the food is going to be bad, and you're only going to be able to get a little small amount. You see, that's the type of stuff Esau is on. I'm going to continue on and finish. I don't want to divert too much. It says, 2 Ezra 16:21, it says, the time is coming when food will be so cheap that people think a time of peace and plenty has arrived, but disasters will spring up everywhere, wars, famine, and great confusion. And that's what we've been seeing happening. We're in the beginning stages of it. You see, because people thought it was a revival. Oh yeah, niggas started getting their little assets, making their little money, doing podcasts, all that stuff. They doing good. But guess what? The Lord is bringing judgments. He wanted a lot of people to get back to sleep. This is verse 22. It's locked here for that stuff. It says, many people on earth will starve to death, and those who escape starvation will be killed in war. And that's why you got a draft happening right now. You know, a lot of people are going to get sent to war. And what the ultimate war is going to be all these nations trying to fight against the Lord. You see? But it said, but with the main thing, it said many will perish of famine. Because guess what? A lot of people don't have Yahweh Shah working with them. Because the prophets, men of old, ate during famine. They was protected during time periods of great tribulation. But if you outside of this truth, that ain't promising to you. Matter of fact, I'm going to get one more precept. Because we are approaching a famine, but the Lord will protect his men. He's going to make sure his men good at that time. As he always has. You look at men like Elijah, Daniel in the lion's den. You know, you can look at men like all throughout the scriptures. Man was protected when it was in time period of famine. And getting that was really just getting their faith tested. If you keep the faith, the Lord will bring a deliverance. This is right here. This is my last precept I'm gonna get. This is Ezekiel 14. I'm gonna get verse 12 through 14. It says, the word of Yahweh Shah came again unto me, saying, Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously, which Israel has done countless times. You see, that's all we had to get besieged by the southern kingdom. The southern kingdom got besieged by the Babylonians. You know, that's why we went into captivity under the Greeks, the Medes to the Persians, the Romans. It was going hell off. We didn't hold our end of the bargain. Even the northern kingdom went into the Assyrian captivity. So there was many times where Israel got brought in those jacked up estates. Even famines when we had our kings in rulership. But it says what? Then will I stretch out my hand upon it, and I will break the staff of the bread thereof, and I will send famine upon it, and will cut off man and beast from it. You see, and the Lord did that many times. Even when you look at Egypt, part of those plagues caused a famine. If it ain't no clean water to drink, that's a famine. That's a shortage of clean water. You got all these locusts eating up all the crops. That's a famine. So the Lord did that to ancient Egypt. And now we're in the spiritual Egypt, and the Lord says he's going to plague Egypt again. So we're going to see this daughter of Babylon get brought through the same type of plagues. You see, but what does it say, though? It says, though these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they should deliver but their own souls by their righteousness, said the Lord Yahweh Shah. So you can be delivered from that if you continue to serve the Lord. The Lord going to bring a famine here. This is the mother of harlots and abominations on the earth. So the Lord's going to bring a great judgment to Babylon the Great. But if you serve the Lord, you can be protected from that. Matter of fact, I'll get one more. See, because famine is prophecy, but we ain't to fear those things. You continue to do what if you continue to serve Yahweh Shah to the end, you're going to be protected. You're going to be covered. And your household can be covered, your family, your wife, and your children. This is Psalms 34. I'm going to get verse 9 and 10. It says, oh, fear ye Yahweh Shah, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. It says, the young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek Yahweh Shah shall not want any good thing. And when you go into that word want, which matter of fact, I'll get it, that word goes into to be in need. See, I should have gotten a big letter at first. Let's see here. Let's get that word want real quick. So Lord gonna make sure we provided with everything we need to be delivered. As long as you continue to keep the faith, the Lord gonna provide you with everything you need. You need to eat. You need to have something to drink. It's that word for want. And that's Psalms 34. All right. That word says kasar. Right? It says to lack, to be without, to have a need. It says to be lacking, to decrease, to be lacking. Ultimately, it's like a need. Matter of fact, let me see. I think it's another definition of it too. Let me see here. Lack, suffer hunger. Good thing. Okay, that's the word. Let me see what the one in this previous verse say. Here we go. This is Makazar. Here we go. Yeah, I like this one better. This is Makazawar. All right, it says to need, poverty, thing needed. Right? It says there is no want to them that fear the Lord. I'll read that one more time. It says, O ye, fear ye, Yahweh Shah, ye his saints. For there is no want to them that fear him. And we went to the definition, thing needed. Right? So we're gonna eat. and be protected in that time of famine if we keep the faith. But these people that's outside of the truth, that's the ones who are going to have to worry about dying of famine or perishing. You see, and even one more precept that comes to mind is that Psalms 37:25, where I believe that was a Psalm of David, which, matter of fact, we're already in Psalms, might as well get it too. You see, Psalm, this is the last one I'll get. Lord willing. This is Psalms 37 and verse 25. It says, I have been old and now, it says, I have been young and now am old. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. So, hey, we in the time period of famine is ramping up. But guess what? It's a Psalm of David too. You see, security of those who trust in Yahweh Shai, and insecurity of the wicked. So these people that got to worry about this famine and all this stuff, those that are outside this truth. If you serving the Lord and your family is following you, then they can make it through you. So we have nothing to worry about or to be fearful of. We just got to continue to keep doing this work, continue, stay having love towards the body, continue to lay down our bodies, living sacrifice, and minister for Yahweh Shai's return. And then guess what? You'll be taken care of. So that's the point I wanted to go into this lesson. Lord willing, edify, gave some exhortation. I like to end it off by saying, call hello, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakudash. All right, the Barnes to the Apostles, the Elders, great millstone, root and teach well. So next time, come on, Shalom.